Hello, it's Deborah Richards, founder and managing partner of Madison's residential sales and lettings agents on the Pantiles. This month I thought I would talk to you. I had a chat with Claire about what would all her lovely subscribers like to hear about, and she thought maybe the entrepreneur working mum juggle might be of interest to you. So I've always been a working mum. When my first son was born, Archie, he's 23 years old now. At that point, I was working for Barclays and I had quite a big job. I was area manager for part of their Premier division. So it was quite a big job. Certainly going back part time was not an option at all. So when Archie was just a mere 3 months old, I returned to work. I remember it being really, really hard. I'm not going to lie. I thought I've always been very, very career driven. But I did really, really struggle with that return. I got back into it quite quickly. It was quite nice to kind of have another identity, have a cup of tea when I wanted one. So it was fine. And it showed for me that I'm not particularly good at being a stay at home mum. I have to say, I think that's the hardest gig of all, actually. I meet so many mums when I'm out and about valuing now who have given up really great careers and jobs to be a really, really worthwhile, fulfilling role of being a full-time mum, which I think is a really, really tough gig. And dads as well, I've met. So being at home, relatively unrewarding, unrelentless, poorly paid, all the rest of it. Anyway, I won't go into more detail. So for me, being back at work was always the way I wanted to go. And that continued with my next child, Bella, who I also had when I was then working for Coots, the private bank. And then, of course, I had my little late surprise, Esme. So in 2012, I was working for Coots. They had a private bank in the town, and they announced a voluntary redundancy scheme. I was getting really quite bored. I loved all my client contact that I had, but I felt that I wasn't particularly engaged in how hedge funds were performing. And where I always got quite excited was when they talked about selling their properties. So I decided to take a voluntary redundancy. And at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just thought I want to do something different. I'd always had a love of property. So I've been a serial sort of property renovator throughout all my life. I've loved the process of doing up a house. So come into contact with lots of agents. And one day I just thought, inspired by my dear friend Carol Pryor, who runs Firefly Properties over in Paddock Wood. Hi, Carol, if ever you're listening, watching this. I thought, I'm going to be an estate agent. I think as I look back, a slight degree of insanity, um, blind ignorance of youth. I suppose I was 40 at the time and felt I could conquer the world. And Bella, my youngest child then, was 6 and back at school full time. So I felt like I had a bit more time to devote to probably setting up my own business. And I guess I'm not what I would call a serial entrepreneur. I think a serial entrepreneur is someone who has a really great idea and then another great idea and just likes the process of being in business and making money and making a difference and being their own boss and all of that. I'm not that person at all. I didn't mind being a wage slave. I'm not going to deny. I quite like the surety of a wage. I was at a level in my job where I had quite a bit of freedom anyway. I was always well respected by my work colleagues, performed and did well. So I didn't mind working for an employer. I just had a vision that I really wanted to be an estate agent and set up an estate agent that was like nobody else's. Um, so I didn't want to go and work for another estate agent. I felt I wanted to do it differently. So yes, I set it up in 2012. I had the idea. 2013, I launched it. Very kindly supported by my husband James, who agreed to my slightly mad idea that this could work. And away we went. I first set up at home. Later then moved to an office in my garden and then went to offices on the lower Pantiles before coming here on the upper Pantiles in 2017. And it was a really slow burn at first. I am highly risk averse. So I could have gone to the bank, got some lending, set up an offices, hired some people, did a load of marketing and seen where that got me, but I didn't. I took it really, really slowly. I wasn't sure if I would even be a success or not. So the first 2, 3 years were really, really slow. And then we gradually grew. We had a few headwinds along the way, obviously with Brexit. But then with the pandemic, I think that's where we really soared. We did our guide down to lockdown living. We were one of the only agents in the town that was still here. James and I would come down here every day. We were obviously living together. We could come down here and we were very, very present. We had one of my team working from home. So she was there the whole way through. We didn't furlough everyone and we were still around trying to push those deals through. We did our NHS care packages. We gave out hygiene keys. So we did quite a lot of community stuff to really, really help push in the area. So yeah, that really saw us develop. And from then on, it's been kind of a sense of not looking back, really. We are now a really big agent in the town, doing really, really well. Great team, 13, 14, 15 of us. I lose count. And great. So one of the things I don't think I really thought about when I set it up was what a monster I would create. So there's no doubt that Madison's is probably my most demanding child, and managing that juggle is really, really challenging. I haven't had a holiday now for 13 years where I haven't checked my phone and checked my emails every day, probably about 10 times a day, to be honest. I've still taken phone calls on holiday to agree deals or try and save a deal. And I never did that when I was working. When I was working and salaried before, I would leave for holiday and not look back, really. Now, there's no doubt when it's your own business, like one of your own children, you care about it. And that is something I think for anybody setting up, you need to be really, really aware of and mindful of. That juggle between balancing work and home is even harder. But you can, of course, be flexible. That's one of the great advantages of it. I never have to ask for permission to go and watch my late surprise Esme, who came along in 2016 when I was setting up, still kind of like launching and galvanizing the business. I can go and watch her matches, her plays, concerts, parents' evening. That's never an issue. I don't have to ask permission for any of that. School holidays, I can work from home if I want to. I can juggle all around that. And so you've got that enormous flexibility that comes from simply being your own boss and working your day when you want to. So I think as an entrepreneur, I suppose the characteristics that I do have that are quite entrepreneurial, I suppose I'm quite a strong leader. I like to think that my team very much believe in the Madison's culture, and we've created a really fun place to work. It's quite hard work being an agent, so a really fun culture, and I lead by example. Very happy to make a decision, be decisive, lead by example, all of that. I'm constantly looking for new ideas, different ways to do things. Always thinking, could we do that better? Could we do that differently? What would happen if we did that? And the joy of being an independent small agent is that I can implement those things quite quickly, providing, of course, they're not illegal, immoral, unethical, all the rest of it. Then you can make changes quite quickly. I suppose one of the great things is when I'm out pitching, I am the founder of the business. So, gravitas comes with that. They know that my neck is on the line along with their sale. Objectives are completely aligned. So that's a much easier pitch, I suppose, when you're an entrepreneur. And yeah, I guess kind of networking and profiling the community. I guess that's the other thing that I kind of push quite strongly. I'm very happy to support the community. There's lots that we do to support it. The next one of these I'm going to do is talking about all the community initiatives that we have taken this year and all the things that we have done to support our community. And I'm very proud that I am leading a business that gives us the opportunity to support so many good causes. And I can just agree to that because that's very close and special to my heart, I suppose. So, yeah, would I do anything differently? Probably only just to take people on quicker, to upscale quicker. That definitely I wouldn't take it so slowly. I wish, what do I want to change? I do want to kind of get more work-life balance back. That's definitely what I'm looking to do. And I've got a great team now who absolutely should allow me to do that. So those are my kind of my one thing to think forward. But I'm, yeah, very proud of what I've built. I'm very proud that my husband decided to join me in 2017 and head up a phenomenal lettings department, and that we've got such a great team who support us with such a fabulous reputation in the town that I live in and that I love to support. So there you are, a bit of a rambling life story of me and my backstory and being an entrepreneur working mum. If anyone ever wants to talk to me about that, go out for a coffee. I'm very, very happy to. Just avoid a Monday and the really, really busy seasons. But when it slows a bit, I'm very happy to have a coffee. I hope that was of interest. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.